Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm bringing you a chit chat. Get ready with me. I'm going to be answering some questions while I do my makeup. I love doing a gold look like this for a night out, for the holidays, in the summer. Like, it's just like my go-to when I'm doing shimmer and I want to shine. I love doing a gold look, and today's partnership is with Mugler, and we're going to shine like a goddess with Alien Goddess. The original Alien fragrance is one of my cousins and best friends like signature fragrance, and my cousin even hit me up like, what's the tea on Alien Goddess? And the tea is that she is stunning both inside and out. The bottle is gorgeous. It is also refillable, but the fragrance really does evoke the inner goddess in you. It really brings out like the boss in you, and I love that. I love when perfumes can bring me to a certain like mood or a certain setting, and you guys know that I love associating fragrances with memories, so I'm gonna be bringing this bottle with me on my trip for the holidays, and I love that for me because then I'm always going to associate this fragrance with that specific time. I love doing that. And also, you guys know how I feel about certain fragrances making me feel a certain type of way. Like, some fragrances make you feel soft, feminine, and dainty, and then other fragrances make you feel powerful and unstoppable. And I feel like this fragrance really makes me feel put together. Alien Goddess by Mugler. It has some vanilla, it has some bergamot, some jasmine. I'll have the notes on the screen. She is definitely a warm floral, and when I spray this, it really brings me to somewhere warm. It's very sunny and bright, but still very sexy and mysterious. It still has that like alien DNA, which I feel like is very unique and lasts forever on the skin and on the clothes. That's what I love about Alien and Alien Goddess, is how long they last. I also do love the Intense. I have it in a travel size. I'm also gonna bring that with me on my trip. This fragrance really makes me feel like a boss, like grown and sexy, but still like young and flirty. Honestly, an incredible fragrance, and ever since I had like my first smell of it, I just can't get enough of it. It's kind of intoxicating. It's kind of all I want to wear right now. I do have mine engraved. They do offer free engraving, which I love. Makes for a perfect gift for yourself or for someone else. And I do have a 20% off code for you guys, which I will have down below. I will have the code and the link to purchase in the description bar. I'm gonna need y'all to trust me on this one. If you love any of my fragrance recommendations, I am recommending this to you because I just feel like this fragrance is so versatile and it's blowing up and has so much hype around it for good reason. Like, I just kept seeing everyone talk about it, and I'm like, what does it smell like? Because I know what the original Alien smells like, but I wanted to know like what was making everyone go so crazy about Alien Goddess, and now I see why. Like I mentioned before, in this video I'm going to be answering some questions while I do my makeup. I chose to go with this super beautiful like shiny gold look because I feel like it goes with everything, and it's like the perfect look to make you feel good. Let's answer some questions while we do our makeup. Go grab a snack, grab a drink, let's get into it. So I'm gonna start off with my brows. I'm going to first clean them up with concealer. I like to do this before filling in the brows, and I'm also gonna use the concealer as an eyeshadow base. So the first question is best tip on working with brands. My number one tip, as cliche as it sounds, is to be yourself. At times it can feel hard to remain true to yourself and be unique just because there's so many people on social media. So sometimes it can feel like, what am I bringing to the table that isn't already on the table? But the truth is, there's enough food on the table for everyone to eat, and every single person brings something unique because we all are unique. You are not me, I am not you. We may look alike, we may like the same things, but our personalities are gonna be different. So when working with brands, the goal is to work with brands that like you for you. They see the value in you. When you stay true to yourself and your originality, and you're not trying to copy other people or do things that don't genuinely make you happy, it shows. And it also shows when you stay true to yourself. And I feel like social media has changed when it comes to working with brands, because back in the day, it kind of felt like certain brands would only work with certain influencers because of the number. There are certain brands that will only work with a certain criteria, like you have to meet a certain amount of numbers. But for the most part, I feel like brands don't really care about numbers. So before, brands would focus strictly on a following count, and that's not the case anymore. The industry is changing a lot, and it's really not about the number, but it's about the content you're producing. So my number one tip is to stay true to yourself, but my number two tip is quality over quantity, and that's across across the board for anything in life, I feel quality over quantity is always going to be my motto. Like, it's not about the number. It's not a numbers game. It's doing what you love, genuinely enjoying it, and if it can be lucrative for you, even better. I can speak only for myself. When I started my YouTube channel, it was never to do this like as a full-time job, and I've been doing this for 10 plus years. So I feel like when you do things genuinely and from the heart, it shows, and the results are gonna show. As biased as it sounds, I feel like the people who support me, and I call you guys my friends, we're such a strong, tight-knit community. Like, a lot of you guys have been following me for over 5 years or over 7 years, or even from the beginning, and I feel like that definitely makes a big impact when it comes to working with brands. I get to work with brands because they know that my following is strong, they're real, and they trust me. So when I trust a brand enough to work with them, you guys are trusting me with my word. Brands are looking for content creators that are producing high quality content, especially in this day and age. Our iPhones are amazing. I mean, I know when I first started, the quality was so different. I mean, I started with filming on a MacBook computer, like the webcam. So now we have all of these like cameras and even just our phones at our disposal. So it's kind of like you can do so much with what you already have. Like, you don't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars like we thought we had to before. Now in the day of like Instagram, TikTok, and people even record YouTube videos on their iPhones, there's just so much more knowledge. The standard is quite high because people are creating high quality content from their phones and they're editing it on their phone. Where like back in the day, it was kind of like, I don't know how to edit a video. There's so many tutorials. Like, I learned how to edit YouTube videos, Instagram Reels, all of that, like pictures on YouTube. Like, I taught myself. We're at the point where it's like, if you don't want to learn, you're not going to learn it. But if you want to learn it, you are. Brands kind of know that. So the question is on tips on working with brands. And I'm kind of answering this as like tips on working on your content, because the more you work on your content and you stay in your lane, the more brands are going to want to work with you. If you do this, this is going to come no matter what. If you're producing high quality content, if you're staying true to yourself and you bring your creativity, your uniqueness to the table, and you're also very consistent, the brands are going to notice you. Brands are always watching. So of course, tagging the brand, and you can always message them. What's also really important is to work with brands organically at first and just show them who you are, show them what you're bringing to the table. It's not always just straight to like a collaboration as far as a paid sponsorship. A lot of brands these days don't even do that. They actually just want to do organic content with you, and I love that because it makes it way more organic, and you're actually building a relationship with the brand. Just like you're building a community with your supporters, you're also building relationships with the brands themselves. I also am signed to a management. What a management is there to do is to help you cultivate these brand partnerships and deals. They're kind of the bridge between the creator and the brand. Not to say that you can't work with brands without having a management, because a lot of people do not have a manager and they're getting amazing brand partnerships. They're working with brands. It's not like you can't have one without the other, but in my case, having a manager has helped me because they kind of organize things in a way that helps me. For example, signing a bunch of contracts and doing like all of the legalities and the contractual things, they help a ton with that. They pretty much break everything down to me and make it make sense. I just get to focus on the creativity, the content, the brands, and just day-to-day life, and they're kind of just more of like the business side of it. But for a long time, I wasn't signed to a manager and I was still working with brands, but it has helped me also with like pricing. I didn't really know what like the standard was because it was kind of like a taboo subject between influencers to like talk about how much they were receiving from these brands. So management can help with that analytically as to like what the pricing should be for the brand partnership that you want to do. To summarize that all, quality over quantity, staying consistent. Either two things can happen. You're focused on you and they notice you, or you're focused on you and you make them aware of your content and of who you are as a person, and they're either going to be interested or not. And also another tip is to not get discouraged. I have messaged plenty of brands that tell me that they don't want to work with influencers at this moment, and then I'll go see like an influencer working with them at the same time. So the key is to not get discouraged and not take things personally, which I know can be really hard, but everything happens when it's supposed to happen. I've had brands turn me down a few years ago and then want to work with me at another random time. Maybe working with you at that moment isn't what is in their plans or isn't in their budget or whatever the case may be, but maybe in the future it will be. So you're not taking this personally and you're staying focused on your grind and your content and what you're doing. When you stay in your lane and you don't don't compare yourself to others, that's when the blessings come. And when you're staying true to yourself, you're bound to get noticed. Quality over quantity, staying consistent, staying true to yourself, and also not being afraid to reach out to brands, but also not being afraid of rejection. I want to make the shadow super gold, so I'm going in with a foiled shadow. But the next question is, do you want to move out of New York? This one is tricky. On one hand, I do want to move out of New York and I want to be closer to my family. Of course, I want to be with my family in Florida. My mom, my dad, my brother, they're all in Florida, and I have aunts, cousins. Pretty much everyone moved down to Florida except like a few people who stayed in New York. And I actually tried moving to Florida, and yeah, about that. At that time, it didn't feel right for me. I kept having opportunities here in New York working with brands, and so I kept coming to New York to do that. And at that time, I had a friend who we both needed each other. And one thing about my parents is that they're extremely selfless. They aren't those types of parents that are like, you have to stay here with me. My parents want to see me thriving, as they should. They want to see me doing good. They want to see me working on my dreams and feeling good and feeling happy. And so when they saw that I kept coming to New York to hang out with my friend or to work, they were pretty much like, go to New York, do what you gotta do, you can always come back. And so that's kind of what happened. I moved back to New York, and it's been a few years. Every single day I contemplated, like, do I want to just make this decision and go back? In a perfect world, I would have my family come to New York because this is where I'm most myself. This is where I'm happiest. I love the hustle and bustle. I love being able to walk places. I love not having to drive. Being born and raised in New York, I'm so used to a fast-paced lifestyle, and so moving to like a slower place like Florida just didn't feel right at that time. So the question is, do you want to move out of New York? Realistically, no, I don't. I do love living in New York. I don't love the winters. I absolutely hate cold weather, but I also don't like extreme heat. So that's kind of tricky. Like, Florida is so humid, but I love New York, but I also love my family and want to be near them. I also have built a clientele here in New York as a freelance makeup artist, which in Florida, it's just very different. A big part of my life is my job and what I do. So if I move to Florida, like, are things gonna change? And of course, you could always build a new clientele, but I know that things are definitely different in Florida. I would have to have a car and drive, which of course I would want to, but I just like to be able to get up and have the freedom of walking anywhere I would like to go. That may sound silly to anyone who doesn't live in New York, but if you're from here, you know what I'm talking about. If you live in a state where you have to drive everywhere, it's just kind of second nature, but to me, walking is second nature, and like being in a car all day isn't really fun for me. But at the same time, I do want to be closer to my family. I'm getting older. I do want to have a house, and living in New York, it's ridiculously priced. Like, buying a house here is just insanity. Like, the prices are crazy, and for the most part everywhere in the country, but especially here in New York, they kind of make it impossible for regular people to buy something. So there's a lot of factors that play into it. My dream would be to have an apartment in Florida and an apartment here in New York, just so that I can bounce back and forth from. I'm trying to live a snowbird lifestyle, so that really is the goal and the dream, because I know a lot of people do it successfully. They come to New York, they work, they do what they gotta get done, and then they go to Florida to like relax or be with their family or for some peace or for some sun. That's really the goal. Kind of like a yes and no answer, but I hope that all made sense. I'm gonna do my liquid liner really quickly, and you already know the drill. Focus and not mess it up. Liquid liner is on. Now I'm just priming my face. Time for foundation. The next question is, where would your dream wedding be? My dream wedding would be somewhere on a beach where it's not too humid. So maybe like at a certain time of the year where it's not super humid, because one thing about me, I'm a sweater. So I just can't imagine being in a dress, hair and makeup done, and then just sweating and feeling very stressed out about it. But I do love the beach. It's just the whole like glam on the beach part that I would have to get right. But a risk you do take with like a destination wedding is the rain, because tropical weather, you know, Caribbean islands, it rains and there's no way of knowing if it's gonna rain or not. I would also like to have a wedding in Florida. My mom is disabled. She has severe rheumatoid arthritis, so she's not really able to travel, and she's in Florida. So I would of course want my mom to see me get married. My whole thing is, I don't want anything super formal or super rehearsed. I want it to be a celebration of love, because that is what it is to me. I don't want anything too prim and proper. I just want the people around me to be there, and that's what would make me happy. Something fun but still romantic on a beach somewhere, sun shining, good good vibes, which actually brings me to the next question, which is, how do you feel about marriage and kids, and has your view changed at all since meeting your man? I really love this question. It has changed. I can now picture myself actually getting married or having kids because I met my soulmate. It's kind of hard to picture things without the person that you're gonna spend the rest of your life with. Like, once you know, you know. So when people would ask me when I was single or in toxic relationships, like, do you see yourself getting married? Yeah, the idea of it, sure, but do I actually picture it? No, because how are you gonna picture yourself getting married when you don't even know who you're marrying? And I'm not gonna be standing at the altar alone, so it would be hard to actually picture it and say, yes, I do picture that. Meeting Arnell has definitely changed things, because when I see him, I see the best husband ever. I know he would be the greatest father. It turned what was once just maybe like a thought or like a maybe what if dream into something that I actually can see and want with him. So it's definitely changed things, because it really made things come true. Now, just because I see Arnell as being a great father doesn't mean necessarily that I want to have kids, and that's kind of where I'm at. We both know we make amazing parents, and we both know we want to be with each other for the rest of our lives, but let's not make that the only reason why we would have kids. We want it to feel good and feel prepared for that. And if you have kids, I know you're probably saying like you're never prepared for that journey. You become prepared, you learn, but right now I'm just so focused on my mental health, being closer to my family. My family's health is very important to me. I don't see myself having kids anytime soon. And as far as getting married, it's kind of funny because like when Arnell calls like a customer service, or when he's speaking to someone and I'm brought up, he calls me his wife. Hearing that and seeing that just, you know, gives me all the butterflies. It makes me feel good because he sees me just like I see him. So we're on the same page. We want to spend the rest of our lives together. We don't want marriage and kids to define us. But I do get this question a lot, and I understand why, because it's like you're seeing two people madly in love and you can see the chemistry. It's like, when are you guys getting married? We just made 1 year together. Which brings me to the next question, which is, when is Bae gonna put a ring on it? And I get this question so often. Like, I'll joke around in my DMs and be like, are you guys setting this all up? Are you guys buying the ring and like planning our future? Not that it's insensitive to ask this, because I know it's coming from a good place. I know you guys are excited for me. You wanna see this happen, and I do too, trust me, and so does he. But everything in due time, like everything has its perfect timing, and we're not trying to rush things. We know we want to spend the rest of our lives together, so it's like, what's the rush? The brush ain't working. If it's meant to be, it's gonna be, and a ring isn't gonna define us. Of course, it would be great to legally say like, that's my husband, have a ring, have a celebration, meet those goals and dreams for my parents as well. Like, there's a lot to it. Of course, we all want that, but we're not gonna let like society's pressure us into rushing something. Arnell and I are focusing on our careers, what we want to do for the rest of our lives too, like individually, and also like where we want to live. There's so many, you know, different things that are playing into motion that having like a wedding right now just wouldn't really make sense. People have gotten married 3 months in and last 50 years. People have waited 10 years to get married and get divorced in a month. The timing of it is not something that you can plan for. You know, you always hope for the best. We know we want it. We know it's gonna happen. So that's why we're just letting things play out the way that they're gonna play out. I'm gonna contour my nose and then do my concealer. I'm gonna blend out my concealer first with a brush. I'm gonna go ahead and set my concealer. So the next question is, what's one thing you learned about yourself while being in a relationship with Arnell? One thing about our relationship is that we are going to learn from each other. I've learned so many different things from being with Arnell, about myself, about the world, about relationships. One major thing that I've learned, I'm super hard on myself. I always just thought that's how I am, that's how I was built. But being with him has really helped me to stop doing that, because there's just nothing good that comes out of being extremely hard on yourself. Not to be my own biggest critic, not to let things get to my head and stop me from doing the things that I want to do or that I think I can't do. Like, he really motivates me and helps me mentally just not think in such a like stubborn black and white way. He's also helped me realize that rest is necessary and that I really need to slow down. It kind of goes hand in hand with being hard on myself, because the thing about me is that I don't really prioritize rest. I feel really bad about not being productive productive. I love that he's like a perfectionist, but also knows when to stop. I don't know when to stop. So I like burn myself out. I end up doing the things I want to do perfectly, not perfectly because I don't know how to just like relax, take a step back, come back to something. Like I'm just a very go, go, go person. Get it done now. I want to get it done. He's really teaching me to not be that way. Arnell and I are always learning from each other. We really love to communicate. When I'm telling you, we really sit down and dive deep into the whys, how we can approach things better individually and as a couple, how to not be so hard on ourselves, how to not overthink things. Because the thing about life is that time isn't waiting for you. You kind of miss out on the now, on the present. You're so caught up in thinking about like tomorrow, how to do better and all this other stuff. And then when you look back, like day to day, you weren't really present. You weren't really in the moment appreciating what you have right now or what it is right now. Like appreciating every single circumstance for what it really is and not questioning God or questioning, you know, the whys. That's something that we're both learning every single day from each other. We both remind each other. We have each other, we have our families, we have our health. Let's just focus on that more than focus on what we don't have, what we could be doing better. You didn't know my boyfriend Arnell cooks. He's never worked at a restaurant. He's never went to culinary school. He's self-taught and he is amazing. So I'm gonna need him to teach me how to cook actually, because I'm not the greatest, and he is gonna teach me how to drive, because one thing about Arnell is he's very patient and I trust him to teach me how to drive because I know he's not gonna get super frustrated with me and start yelling like some people would. He's very patient and he's also just very good at explaining things so that they make sense. Like he's just so good at everything he does. So we are gonna be working on that very soon. Next question is one thing you can't leave the house without, and that is any sort of lip product. I cannot leave the house without either a lip balm, a lip gloss, a lip plumper, a lip oil. I just don't feel complete if I don't have a lip product with me. Like I'll forget my keys at home, but I'll have my lip oil in my pocket or in my bag. Like it's actually pretty bad how I tend to misplace things, but never the lip product. So speaking of which, let's get these lips on because I feel like I look a little crazy with these eyes and no lips. What I shouldn't leave the house without is a portable charger, because one thing about my phone is it's gonna die midday. I'm on my phone constantly for work. My phone is just always dying. Like I'm notorious for having a dead phone. People will literally be on the phone with me and I won't even realize that I have 1% and it'll just, the call will drop. Like at this point, my mom knows if the call drops, it's because my phone died. Arnell knows, my manager knows, like my best friend knows. If I'm on the phone, it's probably dying. And so I need to like walk around with a portable charger like stuck to my head because it actually has 20% right now. Go figure. Next question, it says, hi Rose. Hey girl, hey. How do you make new connections? I have made a new friend in a long time. I think you meant to write, I haven't made a new friend in a long time. And this is something that I kind of struggle with because I'm a very private person. As a Scorpio, I feel like we are extremely reserved to the point where we're like, can we trust you? Can I get close to you? Are you gonna like backstab me? Because not for nothing, I've been in so many different types of friendships and relationships where my trust was taken for granted and my kindness was taken for weakness. So the more you go through that in life, the more weary you're gonna be of making new connections. But I do want to make new connections. I am open to it. In life, it's all about the connections that you make with people, teaching people and also learning from people. Unfortunately, I have lost some friendships in the last couple of years due to relationships, like not on my end but on theirs. And I never take things extremely personally, or I try not to, because I know at the end of the day, people are going to be focused on their own personal journey. And we served each other a purpose for that season, and it was for a reason. So making new friends can seem a little scary because it's like, okay, when are we gonna stop being friends and why? And it's not really a good way to look at it, because I've been best friends with my best friend since kindergarten. We've never had a fallout. We've never argued. Like that is my best friend, and I don't really post her much because she's a very private person. Like we feel like we're each other's only best friends, but we literally became best friends in kindergarten. I don't know if it's because of social media or because of super toxic relationships that I feel like friendships have really taken a beating. Like they really haven't haven't been what they used to be, and I'm so grateful to have my best friend. That's not to say that I haven't made any connections. I've definitely made connections through work, with clients, family of clients. I do sometimes wish though that I would like get out of my head and make more time for friendships and hanging out with new friends and like actually like building on it, because I do hang out with other people, but I want it to be something where it's more consistent. And I feel like I prioritize so much time into my little bubble, like my apartment and relationship and work and stuff like that, that I don't really give myself the grace and the time to just take a step back, relax, and go hang out with new people. That's actually one of my goals for 2023, is to make more time for new people and new relationships, because again, that's what life is all about. How do you make new connections is letting your guard down and not letting those experiences that maybe have hurt you in the past affect new experiences, because the new relationships and the new friendships and the new people that you're gonna meet, they shouldn't feel the repercussions of somebody else that has nothing to do with them. So it's really just about like letting your guard down and trusting again, being okay with not everyone becoming like a best friend. There's acquaintances, there's friendships, there's work friendships, there's different types of friends for different reasons, but of course also just being a better friend and checking up on people, getting out of that bubble. But if you mean like physically where to make new friends, obviously we live in a world where social media is a huge part of our lives, and so like I met my boyfriend on Instagram, and so who's to say that I can't meet like a friend on Instagram? Of course you want to do like your research, you want to make sure that the person you're meeting is really who they are. You know, you don't just jump into like hanging out with people that you're meeting online, because that's not the safest thing to do. Instagram, of course, I would say they do have like apps, I think these days, that are like kind of like dating apps but for friendships. You can meet a friend literally just like at a coffee shop. Like if you see someone who, you know, you like their boots or you like their hair, like go up to them and compliment them. Like you never know like where that can go. We're always in our head about those types of things, but whether it's a friendship or relationship, we shouldn't be afraid of rejection, because the worst thing they can do is say no, which is doing you a favor, because now you have that clarity and then you keep it pushing. Like it didn't work out for whatever reason, they don't want to be friends with you, you know, you move on and you find your tribe somewhere else. Why would you want to stick around someone when it's not working? Whether it's because of their personal issues, if it's not working, it's not. And I don't believe in forcing things. Don't be in your head about it. The worst thing that could happen is it doesn't work out, but you didn't lose anything. Oh, I just tried a new highlight and wowzers. So those were all the questions that I'm gonna answer for today, and this is the final makeup look, which I feel like matches the vibe of Alien Goddess. Let me know your thoughts if you end up trying Alien Goddess. I'm absolutely in love, and I really want you guys to go out and smell it if you haven't, because it really just inspires you to be the inner boss that you already are. Like it really does make you feel like a goddess, like unstoppable. Fragrance really changes my mood and my day. When I have a fragrance that I love on, it makes me feel empowered. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I loved sitting down and just being real with you guys and just kind of like letting you know where I'm at right now, how I'm feeling. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.